Greetings and salutations. Good morning. This is the Tone of Gothies, and this is a special event for us. And I'd like to go ahead and welcome to the stage our two guests of honor today. And this is our crew. Hi, guys. Welcome first, Colin, who is our CEO of Bazinga Games. How are you today, sir?
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. You know, these things happen. We were just a couple of minutes late, and that is all my fault. My computer decided to reboot, and all of a sudden, it took all our settings with it. So there you have it. And so Colin is CEO of Bazinga Games. He will be doing a little bit of talking from a Bazinga perspective today. And also with us, the gentleman that you all want to meet. And this is Mr. Maurice Kimball. Hello. How are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing, David? Colin?
Oh, you know what? Fantastic. And
Yeah.
Maurice is the creator of the Gothies and has known Colin for a long time, the two of them. And it's important to note, you know, as we get started, that the Gothies is Maurice's creation. This is one of those things that this is your universe. This is your world. And can you tell us a little bit about how you and Colin met and how long have you known each other? You guys give us a little bit of background there for those that are not part of the community that are watching on Twitch right now.
Well, that pulls back a lot of memory cards, right? But first, David, you got a beautiful radio voice.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
It
it.
sounds great, you know. Colin's is a little scratchy, but yours is great. It's all good.
Already it starts.
So, yeah, no, I just want to thank everybody in the community for joining and wanting to, you know, get to know a little bit more about Gothies and how it originated, you know, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw some Gothies and show folks my process and the creative process behind it all, you know, and I'll share some other good stuff, you know, that you have to be listening to today to see, you know. So basically what I would love to do, David, is just kind of treat this like a dinner party, you know, but without the dinner, right? It's just us. We're just
Sure.
chatting with the community. I'm going to share what's inside my brain, right? And then everybody can just, you know, live rent free for right now, you know, for a good solid hour. You know,
That sounds good to me.
they may run out screaming, you know, afterwards, or they may want to just stay. It's an experiment. We'll see, right?
We'll see how it
So
goes.
again, thanks for everyone to join. Colin, I guess, and we met maybe close to 15 years ago through the phone because of a mutual friend who was in the visual effects industry. And it had to do with, I think it was a business opportunity at that time. And I believe, Colin, correct me if I'm wrong, it was to purchase Pat Title, which was one of the oldest visual effects studios in all of Hollywood. It was like 86 years at that point. At the end of the day, though, it went on the auction block. And we missed the bid by, I think, 2 hours.
That was such a bummer.
Right. So that's where it started. But, you know, Colin and I, we stayed, you know, connected like anything in life, right? When you meet people along the journey, you know, and you get into like a venture, it's good to keep those connections alive, right? It's a little bit, you know, of a maintenance thing, but Colin's low maintenance, so it's all good. Like there's a year or two maybe he and I haven't spoken, but you know, when you get back on the call, it's just like no time has passed. So it's wonderful, right? Because he's busy, I'm busy, but at some point we knew our two paths was going to join, but we just didn't know how and when. And so life just lived on. And then eventually Colin calls me one day and he says, "Hey, Skip, have you heard of NFTs?" I go, "Yeah, NFTs. That's a good place to launder money, right?" And he goes, "Well, no." I said, "Okay, well, let me do some research." So I did some research on it, and look, even to this day, it's very complex in my head to understand NFTs. But what I do understand is how to build stories, and I always like to stick to what I know. It's just more comfortable in life if I just talk about what I know, speak about what I know, and just do what I do.
Sure. Sure.
And and Colin had the brilliant brain of saying, okay, you know what, Skip, I'll worry about that. You have some art. Let's just do a test. Let's figure out how we can get something up there as an NFT and start to explore this space. And he asked me if I could use one of the properties that I've had once before. And I said, you know what? I don't think that's going to work, because when you create properties, you create them for a specific venue.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like the one he was talking about was good for a children's book. Another one was good for television. But this was NFT, and this was an exciting world, for me, because I did the research. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something here to innovate on. Um, how can I do that is the first thing that's in my head. So I came up with a completely different concept, and that was Gothies. I presented it to him. I showed him a piece of art. Like, I don't know, maybe a day or two later. Was that it, Colin? It was pretty quick.
It was
Right.
really quick.
Yeah, it hit me fast. And then it just kind of, like anything, baby steps. And it just started to grow slowly. We did more research, and we started to really get into this exciting marketplace. I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is more than just money laundering. Maybe there's a business here to be built.
We'd like to, at this point in time, point out to those of you now listening from the NSA that he is not being serious. So thank you.
This is a joke. He's kidding.
Yeah. And coming from a gaming background, the world's always evolving. Technology is evolving. It's always the more. And so what is the more? And the more is the metaverse. It's the NFTs, it's the crypto, it's the Bitcoin. You see the evolution in front of us, right? Like 100 years ago, they saw the evolution of Xerox. And Xerox changed the world,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So are we at that other pinnacle point? Are we at that the golden age of Hollywood, but now in 2022, the golden age of gaming, NFTs? It's different, it's new.
Right.
So I always feel like, and I get excited about being one to help pioneer a new industry, right? So this was really intriguing. So I'm really into it. I'm really into, seeing how we can build an experience, build a world that everyone can play in, and in this new space. There's always two ways to approach things, right? From my point of view, when I think about the players or the viewers, you're either a participant,
Right.
or you're an observer. And I in this space, you can most certainly be a participant, and to me, that excites me. So I'm doing everything I can to build a world around the community being a participant within this Gothies realm or universe, right?
Right.
And that's kind of where the seed has started, at least for me, and the journey. And Colin has been taking it on outside of that realm of creativity for me, right? Making sure, all the business stuff is good. And
Sure.
you too, right? You're setting things up, putting this together. I couldn't do that, man. If it wasn't for, and this is important to note, right? That it takes a community, but it also takes folks coming together, collaboration between all our different skill sets. I like to stay in my own swim lane. I don't like to jump into anybody else's. But if it wasn't for the collaboration coming from Bazinga Games, a lot of the stuff I do would just be sitting on a drive somewhere, never to be seen, just sitting in a folder. And that's true with a lot of things that I would be doing in life, because I've built a whole career on, building properties for, whether it's for, bigger studios, building theme park ideas, creativity, right? Designing theme parks, designing for games, designing for TV or for film. It took a lot of people and a a lot of talented people, far more talented than I, in their fields,
Mhm.
to bring that to the marketplace and to make it possible so that folks could enjoy, things that I've been doing.
Sure.
And even then, there's a whole army of artists that you collaborate with, through the process to bring things to that final, I guess, submission to the public. 3D lighting. I mean, there's a game engine at times. You've got to render things for animation. It's a huge process. It's a great undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
And through all that, a lot of things, at least for Gothies, all gets funneled, and it started right up here, I guess, under my red hat.
Right under the red hat.
So,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a green hat, but it's all good. But now it's time to open that floodgate. Let everybody see how it's being done, because I would love to, show you how I draw Gothies for the community, show you that creative process, and then have the community just go ahead and draw their Gothies.
Right.
Let them participate in their Gothies and fall in love with those characters and build those traits. So I'm building a sandbox, I guess you could say, and I'm laying out some ground rules, and everybody can go in the sandbox and play and build their sandcastles, I guess you could say.
That's what they're looking forward to, as a matter of fact, right? When the tweet we sent out last night had the highest engagement rate of any tweet we've ever sent, which is really kind of funny. And that tweet was basically, do you want to learn how to draw a Gothie? Because that's what's going to happen this morning. And do you want to learn how to draw a land? Do you want to learn how to do these things? And the funny thing is, you taught me how you draw a Gothie, and it was deceptively simple until you actually have to do it. The process itself, and then artistically it has to take over, and that's where I run out of talent personally. But so to talk about, and you've talked a little bit about that already, but talk specifically about the Gothies. And I know you talked about Xerox, right? You talked about Xerox kicking off that revolution, and so Xerox, Kleenex, the things that are the brands that are actually called
blows your nose, right?
Right, exactly, right. These are actually brands that represent an entire industry, right? So it's not a copy machine. It used to be called a Xerox, right? And then hand me a Kleenex. Who cares if it's Puffs or whatever?
Most people even know what a Xerox is these days.
No, not anymore, right?
But that's good. You know what? The world lives right now in their phone digitally.
That's right. And so yeah,
right?
everything's yeah. And so now is everything going to be a Gothie? That's the thing, right? Is everything that's going to be called a Gothie?
We'll see. I'll tell you what. I'll share my screen. Is that good?
Hold on for 2 seconds before we get into there, because there's a couple of questions I wanted to ask before we actually got started, kind of lay the foundation for what we're going to do today. And so first, let's talk just a second about how Gothies fits into the overall picture of Bazinga. Colin, I may need you to chime in here. But one of the things that we introduced through a big press release yesterday was the Bazinga Games overall company that Colin is stewarding. And yes, that was a Lord of the Rings reference, steward. So how is Gothies going to fit into the overall picture, landscape of Bazinga Games?
So as we've discussed on some of our online conversations in Discord, this is going to be the first property, and I'm hoping that Maurice might be able to expand on that. But for those of you who are new, as we've said, this is not just an NFT project. This is not an art project. This is a beginning to end property, which is art and music and gaming and physicality and digital. So the point of the Bazinga properties is to bring multiple of those out. So this is the first one, and that's why we appreciate you all joining us, because you're going to get to do this, and you're going to see and experience others, which are pretty fantastic, which leads into Well, I don't know. Should we discuss that? Should we discuss that now or leave it until the end, David?
I think we can talk a little bit about this, and I think I know where you're going. Right, the Bazinga Games empire, as it will stand, is going to be comprised of multiple IPs. Whenever we say IP or property, that means intellectual property. Like if you were to take a look at something else that Maurice is involved in, Monsters at Work. The Monsters Incorporated is a property, right? You can buy a plushie Mike Wazowski. You can watch the movies. You can see the animated shorts. You can see the series on Disney Plus. And that is what's considered an intellectual property. Gothies will be an intellectual property or an IP. So when we say IP or property, just understand we're talking about Gothies.
Right.
This is the first. And Bazinga will... Whoa, let me back up for 2 seconds. One of the other things that you haven't mentioned yet, Maurice, is that you're also involved in theme park design. And you have part of that in your background.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. What when we do this? I improv my life, so I'm going to improv this, and I will. I'm a more visual spatial type of person.
Sure. Okay.
So enable for me to explain myself or talk. I'll draw it out, and then that way folks have a visual as well.
Okay. All
How
right.
about that, right?
Well, in that
and
case,
we'll certainly get there.
All right.
So I'll share my screen.
Let's bring it up.
And and here, let me go to the. Don't hit the self-destruct button here. Let me show you.
No.
This is always dangerous right here when this happens.
All right. Yeah. Right.
There it is.
All right.
Oh, wow.
You've been overachieving while we've been talking.
Wait,
you've just been
have you
overachieving.
been-
This was a
You've been
blank
doing that
page.
while we've been talking.
This is a blank page 3 minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, no offense. You got a beautiful voice, David, but I get lost, as you're talking about announcements and things of that nature. I mean, it's all fun. It's all great stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's important to note that I live in my head more than I live in reality. I just do. It's just, I don't know. It's just better that way, For me, it's just I just enjoy living in other worlds, and this is part of it. So yeah. So as you were talking, right, I was just doing some quick sketches here, of a Gothy. So here, I'm going to go to a new layer. Start with a blank page. To get to the core root of drawing a Gothy, right? It's all about the creativity. So just bear with me for just a few minutes. That's all, right? You know that saying, David? They think outside the box.
Yes, think outside the box. Many of us have heard it. All of us in the business world always think outside the box. Think of something.
But what the hell does that mean?
Right.
Right. And so through my failures and success through the years, I've managed to figure out what that box is, and the box means something different to everybody. For me, the box means basically what's inside my red wagon. Everybody has a red wagon in life, and in life, what they do is they build on it from the age of 1.
Right.
They're building how their numbers, they're building their success, they're building their love stories, right? Because love is passion, hate is passion. So they're building their emotions, but they're building their careers, right? And their knowledge base, right? These are all just boxes in the red wagon. So imagine that is actually in your box. That's why everybody's box is a little bit different. So this is my box, right? And in my box is my knowledge base, right? Childhood, religion, theology, politics, science, all things that you never want to talk to your friends about, right?
Right, exactly.
Keep these things to yourself, right? But also sci-fi and fantasy and thriller. We all have sorrows in our life. We all have dealt with death in our life. And how do you deal with it? Some people keep it locked, even within their box. They never want to express their emotions about death.
So a box within a box.
A box within a box, right?
So is that what you mean when you hear people say that I compartmentalize? They've just got boxes inside their box.
It's possible, right? I visualize a lot of things. As you can see, when it comes to, like writing, I'm okay, but 3,000 years ago, I would have been a great poet because I just would have been drawing on cave walls for the most part, right? That's all I would have been doing, just painting on walls.
Sure.
But now the world's much more complex. And so when you say a box in the box or compartmentalized, right? People, I visualize it, right? It's always helpful for me to do that. So you're right. People have boxes within boxes. I think that's a good approach. But look what's outside the box. All this vast space. Think of all the ideas that are here in this space. And these are all the ideas of everybody's, self-conscious state, right? Something that there's the knowns and the unknowns. The knowns are the box, the unknowns is the void. And everybody has their void. So what do? This is because I don't know how other people, because their boxes are different, I'm not sure what they would extrude from it. So what do I extrude? I go into my box and I start taking things out. Theology sounds good, right? Because theology is interesting because, you got like James Cameron. He's he's fantastic in writing allegories. Same thing with Spielberg and even George Lucas, right? Because when you think of Star Wars, the god of Saturn is essentially Darth Vader, right? And Skywalker was not an accident for that name, right? That name meant something in the Egyptian text of being a Skywalker. The point is that a lot of these great creatives, they pulled from that box of that knowledge and they expanded on it. Right. For example, it doesn't matter really what your core belief is when you're creating a new IP. For example, James Cameron has a movie that came out. It was a small movie. What was it called? Avatar? Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, that little one that had the box office record for revenue for the longest time. Yeah,
it was a
non-consequential.
I remember it took me weeks before I could even get a ticket.
Yeah.
But there was something really interesting there, right? What he did. He had a tree. And it was a tree of life.
Right. They were all plugged into it.
Where did that come from?
Yep.
Now, I don't know James Cameron, don't really know his thought process, right? So I'm speculating for the most part. But think of this for a second. Within maybe an alternative universe of world history, there is Devil's Tower. All right, where is that, in Wyoming?
I think so. That's where Close Encounters of the Third Kind was filmed.
Yeah, and by the way, that was no mistake. When the aliens came to Devil's Tower, Spielberg made a conscious choice, right? To do that. So there is in theology and in some folks' core belief that the world at one time had trees that were 20 miles high. The earth was flooded with them. Again, it matters not what your core belief is. This is not about core belief. This is about creating a world. This is about being creative and expanding outside your box. It's about thinking outside the box. So imagine Devil's Tower from a side profile. One could argue that these are all chips. This is a tree stump, right? That has been petrified.
Ah, I see where you're going.
Right? There was a big, long, tall tree. Perhaps this was a tree of life, right? And a lot of these creatives and even folks that I've worked with in the past, where you're like, hey, where did you get an idea like that? Well, they study theology, they study history, world history, and it doesn't matter what happened with the, I'll go and I'll study the origins of the Canaanites, I want to know what things that have already been written, right, in different cultures, because we tend to live in our own silos. But I want to get out of my silo, and then just build a library of knowledge, and work from it and build on a property. All right, so I'm gonna now take you to a Gothy sketch, because this is where it all comes from, right? So I shared with you my box and what's outside the box. When it comes to Gothies, one of the things outside my box was dealing with death. What's on the afterlife? What is haunting? But at the same time, what is haunting, but also what is the contrast of haunting, right? What is the victory out of that? You know, because I want to pull on the emotion. So I do so. So let me start with a Gothic, because this is what's back in my head, and also to include, I'm also hearing the music in my head. I'm humming it, I'm hearing it, and so because a character is a product of its environment, and the environment's a product of its character. So I never want to see those two things split. So when I draw an item, I'm hearing it inside my head. And sometimes that is what guides my hand and the creative process of what kind of lines I'm going to draw. So let's just start with the God.
And can I interrupt you for just a second and let everybody know? One, if you're listening or you're watching on Twitter, please jump over to the Twitch stream, twitch.com/thegothies, and we'll be able to interact if you have questions and things of that nature later on. Also, if you're listening on Discord, you can also pop in to the Twitch feed and see that live as well, and see what it is that he's doing, because we can't do video in the Discord stage. But
and we're also in the event chat.
We're also in the event chat, right, in Discord, and monitoring that as well. So as you get started, we're going to tease something that this is all going to come together from a Bazinga Games perspective, and we are going to tease out how Gothies are going to ultimately be available via the minting process, via what's called a park pass. And we're doing something completely different than whitelist, right? Because we're not going to call it a whitelist, and we're going to get back to that later on. But let's rejoin the Gothies.
Thanks, David. Good message. You caught me in midstream. I was just about ready to go for it.
I know. That's why I wanted to stop before we actually just started drawing. And I've completely wrecked your train of thought, and now it's going to look like...
I almost felt like you were going to do it with your voice. You're like, and this is brought to you by...
Yeah, I was waiting for the product placement.
Oh, and you know what? We can say this is brought to you right now by Rodrigo Favela. If you're listening to the music, this is Gothies music that's running in the background.
I have a question for you, David, and Colin. So far, what I'm explaining, right? Is it making sense?
Oh, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And that's where when you went to the music. And when you went to the music and hearing it in your head, I wanted to point out that this was indeed Gothies meditation music that was created by Rodrigo, our composer. And I wanted to call that out because there's a lot of people in Twitch that are talking about how beautiful the music is and how it sets the mood. That's exactly what it was designed to do.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's 50-50.
Right.
All right, so starting with a Gothie, let's have some fun, right? Like everything, starts with basic shapes. So what I started with is basically an egg. One could probably say it's a rotten egg, because what we're going to do is we're going to crack this egg. We're going to split it down the middle, just for now. Leave this area open, because sometimes that could turn into a tail, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to put in a head. I like to flatten my heads just a little bit and get a little bit of a skewing going. This head shape is going to change a little bit, but as you can see with the ratio, the volume of the head is a little bit bigger than the body right now, but we're going to cover some of that space. And then you split it again. And usually sometimes what I do, just for my purposes of memory, a memory of what I'm doing here, I'll put some stitches in, right? And then we'll get in a mouth. And the mouth can be any shape you want, whatever you're feeling at the time, right? I mean, zigzag. The thing is, you want to draw pretty loosely for the most part, right? Then you got your body, you got your head, right? And then we got our eyeballs in there. And our other eyeball, right? And then we get our, I'd probably go for an arm or a leg, right? You got little stubby arms. Think about this too, right? So if I pull out an arm, it starts off pretty skinny, right? We're tapering it, and then we kind of get to the fist. And you get yourself a little thumb. What's going to end up happening is we're going to go ahead and stitch these. These are actually little dolls, little like type voodoo doll types, right? So there's a little stitching, right? And then we'll give them another arm too. He's just pretending he's going to hold something for now. Again, a little bit of the skewing. What I also do later, or even at this stage, I'm going to shape the egg just a little bit. You got to think about every line is not, it's just a temporary line for now, right? Until you can really get a good shape of your volume. I want this guy to feel a little bottom heavy, right? So then we got our top. Now then we get usually what happens next, right? It's the big head that's on top. What's going to live up there? Right now I have no idea what's going to live up there. But let's try something different. Let's just experiment. I love taking little risks and chances in life. Here we go. Tell you what, when we do this. And we got a little bit of a guideline. Let's put something, in the center. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay.
Hey, do you mind while you're doing this? One of the things that we've talked about in the past is how you came up doing this over the course of your career and doing it by hand versus doing it on the computer. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I'm old school, right? Because I've been doing this for a long time. I have a sketchbook. I have multiple sketchbooks over the years, and I sit and I'll sketch with pencil, obviously old school, and so I've got just, I don't know, volumes of books, and I'm doing the same thing here too. The thing is, back in even now, I guess, because I have upgraded to as you can see, an iPad, which is kind of fun. It's good to have, but I guess you could say 20 years ago, or close to 30, when I started in the industry, everything was always hand pencil, right, on paper, and you always started loose. It was always a sketch, and nothing was permanent. And then you kind of built on it, and I'll show you how I'm going to build on this, because right now it's just getting the basic shapes and the markers and just trying to figure out, what the composition is of this character, right? And it's just free flowing, as you can see. But at least through my journey, just quickly, I was around before Photoshop. And then when Photoshop showed up, I remember there was only one undo. And
we talked about this then.
Jump on Photoshop, but I did, and then everything was done with pixels. And I remember sitting there years ago with a mouse, and I was literally clicking pixel by pixel, until I got an image. And this was even in the gaming industry, and it was all pixels. And Photoshop 5 came out, and I got Photoshop 5, and then I didn't even upgrade until like Photoshop maybe 11 or whatever it was. And the difference was I was able to get more than 224 layers, and there was more undos. But the point is that I was pretty stubborn in moving to the next tech, when it comes to using a tool. But eventually, I graduated to the next, evolutions of Photoshop, still using a Wacom, had a pen tool, drawing it, on screen, and then eventually to a Cintiq, and that's what I'm on now, right? I've been on a Cintiq now for years, I guess you can say, and the technology is getting better, the pressure point's getting better, so I really feel like I build my own brushes, but through the years, you also collect brushes, right? You collect other people's brushes, you make friends, right? And they share their brushes, and then right. I share brushes, and then there's brushes you buy online, and that's what you're seeing here. I just got tons of brushes. I started to put them in categories, hair, fur, texture brushes, pastels, oils, markers, paint, watercolors, pencil skin. I start to, after years, you just start to, it's just too overwhelming, right? So I had to start putting them in certain categories. One of my go-tos though is this here, this soft round skip sketch brush here. Look at this. It's like drawing on paper. It's just gorgeous. I just love it. Everybody's going to have their own brushes that they gravitate towards, and this is one of mine. But crazy enough, with the iPad, I work in don't let me hang here too long, David.
Is it
I have Photoshop on there, but I also have the other
so like a?
program that
Oh,
I used,
yes.
but I use different brushes there, even when I'm painting Gothies, and I actually prefer those brushes that I use with that other program.
Procreate.
Oh yes, thank you. Yeah, that's Procreate. Yeah.
Don't give me credit. That was actually Dove, our resident graphic artist on the within. Actually, one of a few graphic artists that we
Oh,
have, I
good.
know, in the
Right on.
community. Yep.
Yeah. See, it takes a lot of folks coming in to help me out. Right. All right. So where am I at here, Colin? I almost lost my train of thought. What was I doing? You and David, man. You both.
We messed it
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
We messed it
Sidetracked
up.
me. All right.
You.
So
There's a
let
stream
me
of
get into this here.
consciousness.
Yeah,
So
drop.
most of the time when I'm drawing, I just want you to know I don't have distractions of Colin and David. Most of the time, what I have is I just have music playing in the background. All right, so let's do this. Oh, let's give this guy a little bit of a collar here. Yeah. I don't know where this is going, so we're gonna find out together. It's gonna be fun, right? Yeah. So look at that. It's almost like a Venus flytrap. Oh yeah. We'll get his tongue coming out. All right. So let's talk about what's going to happen down here, because this is what I do know is going to happen. Legs.
Uh-oh.
Legs.
Legs and little legs and little feetsies.
Little legs, little feet. Now the thing is, legs. I mean, I've had legs where they were on some Gothies where they were sticks, sometimes leaves, sometimes just tentacles. But if you're doing a Gothy, you're just doing your basic shape, and this is a basic shape. It's just a cone. That's a foot. That's basic leg. That's all tucked up into the volume of the burlap back. Because these guys are full of sand. These are the sands of time. The sands of times are what makes Gothies, and the sands of times are what's filled into these bodies. This one here, I am going to give it a tail. Here, let me make some space here. Let's get rid of this line. All right, let's get a tail. It's turning into a plant, right? Let's go with a plant. All right, yeah, cool. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's do a little lantern.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lanterns are big players.
The big players, and now maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I probably wouldn't have put a lantern there on the tail. But as the property grows and I get to learn more about the world I'm creating. I came up, for example, the character, help me out here because my Spanish is not good. El Señor Ensueño.
Yes, Señor Ensueño. Yes, indeed.
Ensueño, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, my English isn't even good, so trying to speak another language is not good for me either. But here's the thing, that in this world that I want to create, I wanted to create like a lore that took place in South America. To me, it felt South American. It was just a feeling. It's like, right. This is South American, and I wanted to just grab from the well of ideas, and that's what they're in the well, they're in the water, and that's when I came up with the poem. So the poem came while I was drawing the first Gothy, because I'm hearing the music in my head, I'm drawing the Gothy, and now I'm hearing the words because I wanted to tell the story of these Gothies, where these Gothies dwell. And I think in the word well, and the Gothies dwell. And then I kind of wrote on that. Okay, so let me go back to this here. I don't want to get off track too much. The simple shapes, right?
Right.
Simple egg, right, is the body. Simple shape of the arm that you see here. And the simple shape of a foot for now, right? And then I go back to the creative part of this, right? So I just kind of sketched out the tail real quick, got a little bit of lantern in here. This dude, like, here we go. Why don't we do this? Why don't we have, so the tongue's coming out. I'm going to treat this like a tongue. He's going to have maybe a brother down here.
A double Venus flytrap.
Double Venus. Why not, right? Because it's crazy.
Right.
And why not? Because if you're going to do anything crazy, maybe this is the property to experiment with.
Absolutely.
Right, so let's do this. And what I'll do, watch this, man. David, you're going to like this. Yeah,
oh, boy. Where does arm go?
I'm just going to rip it off. Watch this.
You are dark, dude. I need more
Dude,
coffee.
I don't know,
This
man.
is-
It just hit me because look, I've got his mouth right.
Is that the arm?
There's his arm. So
Oh, that's
He
so
just
messed up.
Okay,
his headdress just bit off his own arm.
okay, so but here's the thing, right? All these Gothies are going to have their own traits,
Right.
right? And when you're drawing your Gothie, have fun with it, experiment with it. Remember, this is outside the box. Wouldn't it be cool? I mean, this Gothie is basically stitched together. And I'm just thinking out loud here, okay? So we'll get him some stitches. Maybe he's got a little bit of a tear. And I'm just thinking that if he's got this Venus flytrap on his head and I've got this tongue, and what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to mimic the same thing what I did with the tail. Because with the tail, I already had a swirl.
Right. Right.
So why do another swirl? So what was the next best thing? Well, what's coming out of the mouth? Well, I think the tongue would be cool. It would be kind of creepy if there was another mouth there coming out. And then why not bite his arm off? As though it's always a problem for him. That for this particular Gothie, maybe part of his inner demons is what he carries on his shoulders. And it carries it on his head, right? The Venus flytrap. And it's constantly eating at him. Constantly eating at him.
So is this the story of internal conflict within a Gothie?
It's very possible, right? Like we're gonna have to when we sketch this guy out a little bit more, we're probably gonna get to know him a little bit more as well. And so the Gothie himself will probably tell us, right? So let's give him his eyes. Let's go in there with his jagged mouth. This mouth could have been anything, right? I don't know though. I don't know. This morning I just feel like doing something jagged. See, I really don't like this pencil on the Cintiq. I mean, it's a beautiful brush, but I've been drawing. Maybe I've just been getting used to the Procreate, right? There we go.
Teeth.
Yeah, we'll give him a few teeth there. Okay, so here's the back of his head that we all see. So this is good. Here's that little point. See, I wanted to give a little bit of a sharpness there, just a tad, right? Get his head going. All right, so now we're getting his body, we're getting his tail. Just gonna now what we're gonna do, right? I basically have the sketch, and now it's all about just cleaning it up a little bit, making a little bit more of a commitment to your lines. Just a little bit, right? Okay, and then I tore this off. And what happens when you tear off the arm? Perhaps a little bit of sand comes down.
Oh.
You know, these Gothies are very vulnerable. You know, they have a time frame, just like all of us do. You know, I often said, one of the things I know, I'm pretty sure I've said to Colin that I always feel like I have my life is an hourglass. Everybody has an hourglass in their life, right? And I say to Colin often that right now I have more sand on the bottom of my hourglass than I do at the top. I don't know how much sand is up there, so it's always a big question for me. This is one of the things that was in my box that led me to put the sands of time inside the Gothies, and that's their power source. And where do you get sand? Well, you get it from rocks. And how does the Gothie get it? Well, people make wishes a lot, and they'll take a stone, and they'll throw the rock in the well, make a wish. And not all those wishes are equal, and that's where that came from. It just right naturally, it's like not all wishes are equal, because anybody who puts a wish in the well, you don't know what they're wishing for.
Right.
They could be wishing for revenge on somebody. They could be wishing for someone to fall in love with, or to have a connection, or
good health,
money,
even, right?
Help, right? Your family member is really sick,
right?
And
right.
So all these, but now some of these wishes are going to be granted, and some of them are not, right? So, but these stones, they get thrown into the well, and they get through the black reflective, shield, the water, right? And the stone starts to, and I'll show you too, it starts to just dissipate a little bit, and it gets planted into the seeds that I have, right? And they kind of appear like motes but that's what fertilizes the seed.
The
And then the
sands of time.
Gothies, you know, they bloom from the seed. Like if I have a seed here, right? This is upside down, right? But these sand. So here. Sorry, let me just do this. So if you got yourself your well, a well in South America here, right? And you pick up your stone and you throw your stone in. You make that wish. What are you wishing for, David? What's a wish of yours?
I will wish for, personally, my cancer to never come back.
I
That's
like
what I
that.
would wish for.
Good stuff. Okay, and I'm very sorry to hear that, but I do understand you are doing better. Yes.
Yes, yes, it is. Right now it's gone. Remission.
Good.
Beautiful.
Good. Okay, so that's great. That's a good wish. Okay. So that wish comes down, the rock dissipates. Here's the water, right? Goes through the water. What's on the other side of that water is the reverse of everything that you know, right? But that rock gets dissipated and it does find its way to the seed. Let's see here, got these. I'm going to show you that seeds. I do have it somewhere, but I think you've all seen the image, right? Because it's all
Yes.
these branches, right? And then there's a well actually in the center too that I put.
Yes. In fact,
Because
one
there's
of
a little bit of
the
a mist.
one of our
because-
event POAPs is a seed.
The god of the well source is here. So, but the point is that that's those sands, right? They
Mhm.
fertilize the seed. The sands find their way inside the burlap bag, right? Because that's where the sand is. But like anything, there are risks in life, and there's trials and tribulations and all that good stuff that you have to deal with. Well, he's a little chubby, this guy.
That's
But,
good. He's got a lot of sand.
He's got a lot of sand, so that's a big wish we're making for you, Dave. That's probably it. Yeah, okay. But this guy, obviously, he's losing some sand. So he's got a timeline. Okay, so let's go back to this here because I want to get this out of my head here. Right, so we'll get some plants. At this point, it's busy work. I always feel like it's busy work at this point, right? Because I kind of got the idea now where I'm going, and now it's just fulfilling the promise that I made to myself of how I want this Gothy story to be told in its traits. And right now, like I'll just drown myself into some music. I listen to all kinds. I love all kinds of music. Anything that I feel at the time is fitting me for this journey here I'm taking. And then what will end up happening, David, is that I'll lift up my head and it's like 8 hours later.
Oh, wow.
It's like, and I think a lot of artists would understand this. I think they get it too, right? That you go into a trance. It's kind of like when you're driving sometimes. I know this is probably pretty dangerous, but there's times when you're driving, right? And you go into this hypnotic state, or is that just me?
No, I get lost in thought all the time.
Everybody, right?
I think everybody does. They get to their destination and they have no idea how they got there.
How they got there.
Right? And
yeah.
I'm sure I hit a red light somewhere. I hope I stopped.
I hope I stopped.
Right?
Yeah. And so it's kind of the same thing, right? We're going to put these little whites under his eyes. And then we're going to, maybe give him a little bit of tooth there too. Okay. So that's what happens. Like I'll just get into almost like a trance, man, and not know what happened over those last few hours. And when I wake up, more or less, there's a solid Gothy or a painted Gothy because I'm gonna, because I paint these up too. So, but here, I'm just gonna finish off the idea on this one, okay? And then we're gonna go into another Gothy. But do you think this is sufficient right now, David? Because I don't want to spend too much time on one. I want to draw some more. I also want to get to some lands.
The community is in Twitch talking about how, Robbo the Greg, for example, is asking if we're seeing a whole new family of Gothies in the making. And they are all, I will tell you that it looks like there are a ton of people that are commenting about how they love to see the process because no one is willing to share this in the NFT community. For the most part, they see the finished product all the time. I don't remember who just said that, but they see. Oh, that was Colin in the chat. I just saw that. They see the finished product all the time, but you never get to see the process that goes along with it. People are calling you the Bob Ross of the internet now, right? Because you're sitting here talking and drawing effortlessly. And yeah,
That's a wonderful thing to say. It's very kind. I am no Bob Ross. He is a god. He is.
he's
He
a
was
legend.
such a sweet man too. I never met him, of course. I only know him through TV, right? PBS,
Right.
and I used to sit there and watch him paint, and I absolutely love what he was doing.
I was mesmerized by that, and I think something you said was very, very profound, and we just went right through it, is that nobody knows how much sand is left on the top of their hourglass.
No, and I certainly don't. So I often say that the most precious sand is at the very top, and the reason being is because there's so few, right? So now every sand up here has to matter, and it has to matter to me because, I'm at that point, and that's fine. That's the cycle, and and again now I'm pulling again from my box because what do I believe, right? Is life a cycle? Everything seems to be a cycle. Every property that I
Right.
do, that at least that I want to create and have created, is all about a start, the journey, the finish, and then the restart. And along that journey, you learn things along the way. And then when you come back, you're going to do things a little bit differently. But how many times do you have to cycle? I don't know. I have no idea.
Nobody
But
does.
no one does, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's believable or not. What I'm doing is the ultimate goal. I'm creating a property. I'm trying to think outside that box and create something new. Because as you know from my box drawing before, there's a vast space.
Outside the box.
There's plenty of ideas for everybody,
Right.
right, to join in.
Right.
Okay,
right.
so I'm going to go back to my arm here. Yeah, because I got this little guy, right? So he went ahead and he munched away.
Poor little Gothy.
Gothies, but they're interesting. I just got a thought here. I'm going to draw something real quick after this here because Gothies are interesting characters. I'm beginning to understand because they're mysterious. They're little tricky characters, right? It's almost like they can't have a bad day, or maybe they do. I think I had some Gothies where I changed their facial expressions. Some were worried, some were sad, some were hyper active and they were really excited. So they certainly do go through a lot of different emotions. I guess in many ways, they're more or less more like us, right? But they've got some flexibility because
Of course.
um,
They're in a completely different world.
they do go through a cycle, yeah, and they have a little bit of immortality kind of built into them because they can always get the sand back.
Right.
And that's going to be a process too. That's going to have to be
Yes, it is.
revealed at a later date too. Okay, so I'm going to get some stripes in here. So essentially, this is one Gothic. Okay, so we got some teeth. I hope this all makes sense to folks. Right? It's one approach, one idea. Right? I just want to finish this off. Okay.
Now,
So
save
they-
that Gothy. Save that drawing. We'd like to potentially do something special with it.
Well, I'll tighten it up at some point, right? But to answer your question, but yeah, perhaps you know what? Maybe we just did. Maybe we just did create a Gothy, that is going to have its own genre. Like maybe it's the monster plant Gothy or something. Why not? Right? They're fun. Here, look, I put some stitches here on this dude's eye.
Oh, it's stitched
So-
there too. Look at that.
Yeah. Here, there's a couple things here I kind of want to talk about here because this is kind of reminding me of something here. You see these eyes, and you notice what I do with Gothies. I put these little rings under their eyes. So let's go to a new Gothy, okay?
Okay.
Bear with me here. Let me draw my rotten egg. I think for this egg, we're going to close the door. Close the hatch. Okay, let's make a crack in the egg. Let's give him some stitches. Okay, let's give him his hand on the other. Yeah, let's bring this arm in, right? He's going to hold himself a little tight.
Hopefully
Okay.
this one's not going to lose his own arm.
I don't think so. Hey, this guy, we're gonna be nice to this guy.
Okay.
Okay, let's give him some legs. Okay, let's give him a head. So I think one of the things that I know Colin asks is like, okay, why this style? What is this style?
Right. A lot of people want to
Right?
understand what the style is.
So for me, this has always been a style that I've always loved and enjoyed, and it is the core style of me. But let's dive in a little deeper. Where does that style come from? Okay. After World War I in Germany, there was a new art revolution happening, and it was called the Goth. And this was in the 1920s. Okay, what happened just before the 1920s? Right, was World War.
We're coming out of World War One and into the
Right.
Roaring Twenties. Yes.
Now, I want you to imagine being a soldier in World War One,
Not good.
and he's in one of the what do you call those? The ditches there.
Those trenches. They were in the trenches,
Trenches,
and you had
right?
poison gas being used in World War One.
Exactly, right. So then, and it looked pretty nasty. There was a beautiful movie, 1917, right? That was
Right.
fantastic, and it all
Right.
took place. That was one shot, all the way through. Okay, so but think of what these soldiers were seeing at the time, right? Here's, right. It's almost like the gas mask. Look at that. How creepy is that, right?
Yeah.
It's crude, right? So these, so some of these soldiers, right? They were artists and they were drawing, and they're drawing what they're seeing. And what are they seeing in these pits? They're seeing skulls. They're seeing human. They're seeing flesh burning.
Remains. Yes. Absolutely.
Remains. They're seeing. I mean, just the helmet. You ever see a helmet from World War One? Look at that. Look at that shape. And isn't that just creepy as it is? So what happened is the goth, right, emerges from the artists in coming out of the war. It's a way of dealing, right? So they're sketching. So the goth is born. Voila. And so you're seeing the eyes. You're seeing. See, look, here's the eyes. Here's the sunken eyes, right? Here's that other piece.
Right.
It's all interpretation, right? And even
Sure.
what I'm saying here is probably interpretation. I mean, who knows? I've never been in World War One. I can't say for certain what's happening. I'm just trying to put pieces together.
Right.
Right. But the point is that, as a child, right, this is what I'm drawing swirls, just naturally swirls. I'm just drawing swirls, drawing shapes. Even if I drew an egg, I always put a stripe on it. It's just fun. It's fun stuff, right? I don't know, man. I just gravitate towards it. So years and years later, and years from where we are now backwards, right?
Right.
Tim Burton has a beautiful style, right?
Right.
And so the goth becomes Burton-esque, right? It almost gets relabeled.
Right.
But he also takes it into his own approach.
Right.
And I love Tim Burton's style stuff, obviously, right? Because I gravitate towards it, because I feel like I can connect to it, because I understand the shape language, and it feels comfortable to me, because it's how I like to draw. And so that's where this style comes from. And so here you got the goth. The name of the property is Gothies. So what I did was Gothies. It just seemed to flow, David. It just because no one's got. I mean, the goth was an art style, but Gothies is personality. So let's finish this little dude up. What I'm gonna do? Let's see here. Oh yeah, you might want to do this. Okay. Let's not give him these eyes. Why don't we do this? Let's give him that mask. I think we can put those canisters are usually a little bigger, right?
They are.
I'm pulling from a memory card. So I
Yeah.
have no idea.
This is
I mean,
like
it looks right.
It's like a little minion Gothy.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Look, we'll give him a little. Well, maybe this guy maybe is a little devious, man. He's like loving it. He's like, yeah,
Right.
I'm gonna gas everybody, and I'm gonna be okay because I got a gas mask on. Right. So let's give him maybe give him a little tooth here and there.
So right now we're just a hair over an hour. I know we originally said we're an hour, but we are not even halfway through the content that we wanted to go through. So do you, you still have more time?
Yeah.
You still
True.
have.
Let's not. People have lives to live here. So I'm gonna big N. Too big of a horn.
We're just gonna roll through. You've got time, right?
A little bit here. I love to stay, and this has been fun. I like this dinner party.
Yes.
So I think I'm just gonna, like I said, I improv my life. I'm just gonna improv this here.
There we go.
Okay, so Gothy. Swirls. I love swirls.
The swirls
in the glass
goggles, yes.
But you don't have to be symmetrical either. Look at that, man. I mean,
true.
Part of the style is having maybe one even bigger than the other, right?
Sure. Why not?
Okay, so let's get into some other fun stuff. Okay, so is this working out, David?
Yes, I love this. He's got no
right.
tail, but he's ready for combat.
He's ready for combat.
Yes.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Let's get a little bit of his tank here too. There we go. There's a little guy. Okay, so what I will probably end up doing is taking this little guy and taking the other character and maybe making some other sketches and see what I can muster up. Pun intended.
Nice. Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, you say muster. I'm like, yeah, there we go.
I got a lot of bad puns. All right, so here we go. All right. So a Gothy, and the approach, and certainly about the background and where it all comes from. All right, so let's take this Gothy, and I've got another sheet here. You guys all know these Gothies, right?
Yes. These are the ones that are available on the website that you can see.
Yeah. This is what happens after those rough sketches, right? Things get a little tighter, right? I start to commit even harder with my lines. And the other thing, too, that, because I was rushing through it, let's never forget this. Never forget, what's going on here? Is getting the pins.
Right.
These are Gothies, and they have these pins because you are controlling these Gothies. They are like voodoo dolls. So you have to pin these characters, and then they are yours. Right?
There you go.
When you date and and you're on the chase, right? You get to the point where you pin the other person, right? They do it in high school. You can wear my pin, right? Or you pin with a ring.
Right.
And so you're pinning these characters too, and you're doing it with a pin. Now they're yours, right? Because you are the Strayas.
So when you're collecting in the world as a Straya, you can pin your Gothy.
You pin your Gothies because now they're yours, and now they have to do what you say. But they're also devious too, so you got to be careful with these guys. And there's something else here too with these guys to do. So here, so here you got your Gothy, right? I gave him a facial expression. You see the expressions up here? These work separate. So these characters that are actually on their heads will also have facial expressions. Think of this as almost as you know how you have the voice in your head, the character on your shoulder. So these characters still have to make choices because every day in life we always come to a fork in the road and we have to make a choice. Where am I going? And that voice inside, at least my head, tells me, well, you might want to go that way. Don't go that way. And sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. And sometimes there's a consequence to that choice, and sometimes it's not. So these characters here are kind of the same idea, right? So you got the head, you got the eyes, and they're going to have different facial expressions that will certainly be different than the ones that are happening down here because they do have their own sort of, that's the voice in your head.
Right.
at your conscious state.
It's the sound of your inner demons being shouted down by your better angels.
That's right. And of course, you don't want to neglect. There's the patch. That's the sound patch. Now, this whole time that I was drawing those other characters there, I kept hearing the music, but I can't share that in my head. I have to go to a genius like Rodrigo, right? So Rodrigo, he has a wonderful talent, man. I can sit there and I can hum to him, and I can describe certain musical instruments, and it makes no sense to anybody.
Right.
But Rodrigo, he's such a sweet guy. He goes, Skip, I think I get it. I know where you're going. And he'll go back and he'll do his genius work, and he'll come back. I'm like, oh my gosh, Rodrigo, that's wonderful. That's what I'm thinking in my head. Can you do this and this now? And then he and I will get on a creative call, and then I'll do some more humming, and it's just, and I was like, I don't have good pipes. So, but I'll say, you're doing it, and just to build it up more, until you can almost like break it to the line.
Right.
And he'll look at me a little nuts, but he'll go back and he'll do it, and then he comes back with his genius work. And
yes, he does.
He took something that made no sense, and he got it to make sense in people's ears. And I love that. And he's wonderful. I love working with him because he's basically my partner in this, creatively. Because remember, art's 50%. Oh, look at that. That's computer. That's the downside, right? And music is the other 50%. So Rodrigo brings these alive with the music. All right, so let's do something fun here. I don't think I've ever shown a colored Gothy. Is that correct?
No, we have never shown a fully rendered Gothy, and I think if you're hinting at that, these individuals in our chat room are about to go insane.
Okay, I'm going to show you where this all goes to. There's a journey that I take. Rough sketch. You see my thumbs. I'm sketching it out real quick. I'm trying to figure things out within the story of that character. And then I tighten up the lines. And you saw what the tighten up the lines in that other drawing.
Yes.
And then I sit there and I look at it. I'm like, okay, now it's time to color. The beautiful thing about, this style and the goth style is that if I give you slightly threatening lines, maybe even a slightly threatening, story behind the characters, I want to hit you with color that's going to make you happy. Right. So then you're constantly in conflict. You're like, well, I'm intrigued because of the colors drawing me in, but I want to repel because I can't stand the line. It scares me. So here we go. So I'm going to show you here what the end result looks like.
Oh boy, are we ready? Are we ready?
This is what every Gothy is going to look like at the end of the journey of its creation, right? So let me go in a little bit more here.
Look at the detail here.
As you can see, I went in there, I got the texture in there, the burlap bag. I worked out some grunge textures for the stitching. As you can see, he's not fully together, right? This character is very delicate. It's like he could fall apart at any moment. And here, of course, I've got a tear.
And he's losing sand.
With the colors too. It's important to note that colors tell a story, and colors is going to tell a story about this Gothy. If he looked mean, does he look approachable? He kind of does, right? Because the colors just kind of want to. I mean, at least in my case, it draws me. I want to pick this guy up and hug him.
Right.
Hopefully, he doesn't bite my ear off. But yeah. But I wanted to get in there with some base textures. And then kind of do a secondary brush stroke over them, because you can kind of see what I'm doing here with the brush strokes. Just getting that energy of the volume.
Right. These are almost like scales.
So it doesn't break. I don't want to break my line flow.
Right.
So then we got the eyes, and they're a little different, right? One's a pupil, one's a spiral. I got his teeth in there, colored out his teeth. So here's his inside, right? He's a burlap bag. He's full of sand. But his heart's right here in the music. That's his soul. Music's all about soul, right? I mean, Pixar made a movie, Soul, it's all about music.
I think
music really touches the heart. And what I love about music too is that it crosses borders. Music is the universal language of the world.
You're absolutely right.
Right?
And that's why it's so important in the game, in the property.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. They can't exist separately. So yeah, so here's where I'm going with these Gothies. So when you get your NFT, I was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Colin, but the NFT is essentially right now these images, right? These full rendered images, right? And you still get the music, right? Because I've got music that's going to be attached to these. So when you see this
Right.
character, you're going to hear the character's music.
That's where the NFTs are going to be different from most out in the market, is that your NFT can be any media file. So it's going to be closer to an MP4 than it is a JPEG, because you're going to get
Yeah.
music along with your image and then with all the attributes that go with it. So we are definitely crossing boundaries in terms of media types to bring you something that is truly special when you get your Gothy NFT.
Yeah, that there has a purpose, right? That there's
Right.
an origin. So
Right.
it's deeper than just a face. Because I would really love people to just to get to know their Gothy.
Right.
So
Right.
what happens next here? I'm going to also share this. So because we're Bazinga's building a game, and so I just wanted to show Bazinga, what one of these Gothies looks like, when they're in their 3D form. But I've got something because I'm a little slow with it, but it's a work in progress. Let me go grab it. Where did I put it? I got a Gothy tree, Gothy plants. I got a Gothy.
They're asking in the chat on Twitch as to what chain, and yes, it will be on chain. And right now, the plan is that it will be on Ethereum main, and then, of course, on like any other game, we're going to have to take it to a level 2,
Right.
and we will have information about that coming out soon.
So I wow, I thought I had it uploaded, but this is one of the things going live. I'll tell you what I'm going to do because I'm going to have to probably pull it from one of my files.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go grab it from a file, right? And then when we come back, you'll see a 3D Gothy. Does that work?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, let me do that. Yeah, this won't take. Okay, I'm bringing them up. Okay, good.
There you go.
Okay, so
Easy and quick.
here's a 3D Gothy because 2D is great, but let me share my screen again. But you really want to experience the life of these guys, right? And they got to move around. So, David, are you seeing this?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So this is a work in progress, as you can see, but this is basically a 3D model, right? It's high res. I still got some notes that I'm going to put on it because I still want to sculpt his body out a little bit. And as you can see, the process, right? I got my Gothy version 1, and then I went in there with my notes, right? And I started drawing out some red lines and where how I want this thing sculpted. And so this is the next version.
Right.
So after this version though, then I'm going to take it to the surfacing and texture. We'll get some light on it, and then when you see an image like this, you're going to be able to see it basically in a turnaround. So you'll be able to spin around, and you'll be able to enjoy your Gothy from all angles.
Right.
Okay, there you go.
There y'all are. I mean,
Well,
you're getting all the alpha this morning from the creator himself as to what these are going to look like, how you're
Yeah.
going to get 3D. This was what they'll look like in the game,
Yeah, we're pretty
and
much out of content.
well, I mean, we,
it's a very
we've
big
given quite a
world.
bit, right?
So
Yes.
that's the Gothy's journey for characters, right? And let me just touch base a little bit. We're running, yeah, a little way too late here. Let's think about environments, and maybe there just has to be a second call where we just tackle environments. But here I just did some sketches, right, of the plants.
And these are the things that you see on the Gothy lands that we've
Yeah.
shown before. These giant trees that are going to be the Gothy lands in the world.
Yeah, these are the one. Yeah, because when you see the land, sometimes these get buried in the shadows and in the lights, right? So let me go to this, right? Because this is one that has a little bit of color, right?
A little bit. I love how
So
you say it's a little bit of color.
a little bit of color, right? There's your player. There's your Straya. Yes, he has a whip because he's got to tame these big lands, right? They're huge. They can walk all over them. But as you can see, here's some of those plants, right? This has got to get cleaned up a little bit, but as you can see, those plants that you just saw on the other page are what populates
Right.
the lands. And the plants themselves have life. These things move almost like like when you're underwater, right? You see the plants and they're fish. They're living creatures, and these plants are also living creatures. Here's the thing too that just kind of I want to just hit my memory here to talk to you about too. On every land, you're going to see a red door, and what's behind the red door is the unknown. It's always the unknown in our lives. So everybody in life has this unknown. Do I open the door or do I not? The Gothies have that too. I have a good idea what's behind that red door, but I think as the property matures and we start playing the game, right? I think I can at some point expose what's behind there. It may be different though to different people considering how they play a game.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But there's a red door, and we don't know what's in there just yet, because it's almost like a metaphor in our own lives.
Right.
What if, what if, man, what if I just went through that door? Would it change my life or would it ruin it? I don't know. Maybe it puts me in a worse state. Who knows? But as you can see, I get the Gothy up on top, right? And he's playing his music. I'm hearing the sounds, right? The sounds have color. They relate to color. This one's obviously, he's got more of the green and I've got some of the music. These are like firefly creatures, and you'll see them on Sueño's journal because
Right.
he actually sketched them out. And then I talked to him in third person because I had to channel him to get there. But I do think of that character as its own character. So I always have to pull away from Ensueño to talk about him, But
Sure.
in Ensueño, he did draw those what these creatures actually look like close up. And of course, other musics from other Gothies, and they got different colors because they're playing different types of music.
All that in the background back there. You've got another
and
Gothy.
all in the background.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's creating a whole world, right? So here, let's go back to this here for a second. Let me just, maybe just draw maybe just one land here. Let me tell you how I start with lands. I always said that the character is a product of its environment, right? So
Right.
get yourself an environment. Why don't we do this? Why don't we get him some walking sticks or something here? I'm all the way to the edge of my page. I don't know if any artists on the community have this problem, but you start with a canvas size, and you're drawing, and the next thing you know, I'm either at the edge of a canvas, right?
Right.
Or then I always have to enlarge my canvas. I never seem to end with the same size canvas, Okay, so again, just let the lines flow. Lands are big, man. I usually have to have bigger lands, bigger canvases for the lands. Oh, look at that. See, I'm already freaking too big. Let's scale this down. Just a touch. All right. So, cool. So, Dave, you're seeing this, yeah?
Yes, we've got it.
So, what I love to do. Why don't we get a tree? I always kind of lean towards these trees that are bending. Why don't we do? Yeah.
Everything has swirls.
There was a sketch I did, and I'm pretty sure it was shared with the community, where it had like a face in the tree, right? Because I had this tree.
Yes. It was a shadowy face that was over the side.
Right?
Yes.
And then I got some water coming down because. Let me share this. What's happening inside this environment is when you go under the pool of water. And I think there was something in a discussion too, where it's what do you see when you look up? And people had some ideas, right? But I'll tell you what you see when you look up. You see a sky. In the where is that drawing? Yeah, here. You see these bubbles?
Yes.
These are bubbles that are that are flowing downwards. Here's the pool. You're on the reverse side of the well water. So you're upside down, I guess is probably an easier way of saying it.
We're in the
right?
upside down.
So you see these bubbles? Do you like take that image that's right behind you? Did you see the bubbles that are just underneath the surface
Yes.
going up? Okay, that's in the logo. These are those same bubbles. Okay, but you're now on the reverse side and you're looking at it upside down.
Right.
So you're flipped over. It's like if you jump in a well, which is I don't recommend. But if you go into the well, you're going in head first, right? So when you pop up, you're upside right. You're like this guy.
You're in an inverted world, but you're
Yeah, so the whole world kind of turns itself this way.
right.
The bubbles are coming down now, but the bubbles are coming up in the other side of the reflected pool. So it's a reflection. Because one of the things, like when I look down a pool, when I look down into a well, and I see the dark shimmering waters, and that's how I described it, right? It's just dark shimmering waters, and it's like, well, what's on the other side? Because the shapes always keep changing depending on the light and the movement of the water.
Right.
So so what's on the other side? And these are the things I think I shared this with you once, David. I got this thing where I can't go to the 50th floor of an office tower, right, and step out on a balcony. I can't do it.
Right.
I want to do it, and that's my problem. I'm drawn to do it, but I want to look down, and then I want to jump. It's like I feel like but I can't, right?
Sure.
It's something that lures you in, and the same thing with the well. I walk up to the well, and where I grew up, my grandmother had a well, and it was a rickety old well. It looked like it was falling apart. Here, where is this? Yeah, it was. I mean, there was wood, so the well was this big, right? So here it all is. But then they had wood here to block those holes.
Right.
But then there was a real structure of a well right here. I can't tell you how many times as a child I walked over to this well and I looked down.
Jump in there.
I wanted to, man. I wanted to, because there was something down there that I wanted to see. You know what this was? Now I'm thinking about it, just thinking out loud. This is my red door. I think that's my red door, dude.
There you go.
So have I opened this door in life? No, I've never gone in. But have I? I don't know, because I go and I create this world of Gothies, and maybe that is my door. Maybe this is my red door. I don't know.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is. And I opened it up and I created the Gothic world, which is great. So I'd be curious now, what would happen like tomorrow if I walked to a well? I don't know if I want to take that chance. Colin might be saying, I might want to get some insurance on you first.
I know we don't want that. No. We definitely don't want that.
You literally can't leave.
Well, so all this, right, goes to the environment, because when you go inside, you're just not seeing the character, you're seeing the environment world. And what I love about the environment world, is getting this wrought iron, that's work in there. I just feel like that's so gothy, getting the swirls in there, getting shapes and faces and cracks in the, in the rock itself. I had those certain plants that you saw, right?
Yes.
Certain plants have a face, kind of, right? It's like everything is alive, man.
You've said that before, and this is the first time I think that the public has heard this, that there are faces everywhere that you look, and Easter eggs in the lands, and you can see things that you think, oh, I wonder if that's a face. It probably is.
It probably is. And you get that with clouds too, right? When you look up at the sky. I mean, how common is that when you look up at the sky? Every day, right. I wake up, I walk outside, right? Because I'm ready to commute. I always take that deep breath in. And up here in Vancouver, there's some beautiful morning weather, because you've got the mist. You'll have a beautiful sky. Sometimes the clouds are low on the horizon.
Right.
And it's just really crisp. And it's very quiet in my neighborhood at this hour. And I just want to I just inhale, and and I feel like you can really get a sense of the environment around you.
Yes.
You know, I mean, same thing with a Gothie, I guess. Of course they'd be hearing music. See, sometimes I get
They
lost
would.
in my own
They'd
my
hear their
own
own music.
brushes here, right? Because I got so many
They
brushes.
would
Maybe I
hear
gotta.
music from the land as well, and music of the other Gothies that are on the land.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and the
everywhere.
idea too is that you you should be drawn to the other Gothies. You want to connect with them. You want to hear their music, and because like Rodrigo's writing like he'll write a tone for a Gothie, right? A tone one, and this Gothie over here has a tone two. This tone sounds great. This one sounds great. What happens when you two Gothies meet? You come together. You form, right? It's a
Right.
union. It's a union of music, and that music is instrumental, pun intended. Another bad
Right.
pun, but it's all
Yes.
good. Because the one thing we didn't talk about, and it's there, and it's always under the surface, right? And that those are the fiend monsters,
Yes.
right? Those are the shadows, man. Oh, I love those shadows, and they're always feeling like they're tormented. They're just. It's like they can't inhale.
Right.
They can only exhale, and it hurts and it's painful, and because they're constantly drowning, because you're on the other side of
Hmm.
the water. But they lost their memory, it seems like, when they went through. So they're a threat to the Gothies.
Right. We've talked about
Shiva, the
how they
god of the
become.
well, I always think of him when I think about his origins. I started with Hades, Greek mythology,
Right.
in this, right? Another thing in my box that I pulled out. Okay, so Hades, he turned around and he created Shiva, the god of the well, because he wanted to lure those who have fallen into a well to the afterlife, and that was Shiva's whole role. But when he got there were already creatures there, and they were the Gothies. They were already creatures because people have been throwing stones into the wells, and that's what created the Gothies, right?
Forever.
So,
Right.
so it's all connected, and but but when those souls came into the well, they were a threat, and they were threatening the Gothies for a long time. So Shiva helped to rally the Gothies together to work together by bringing in the music. And so when the music is just right, the threat of the monsters are lured to you, and then you can shepherd them to the afterlife. However, if the music doesn't relate to the love and understanding, and it's a little bit more of a threat,
Right.
then it really attracts the fiend monsters that want to be part of it. And so then they
Right.
possess your Gothie, and then you become the Jumbies. And next thing you know, it's always right that old story of good versus evil, right? And so now you're taking your Gothies kind of down a different path. Again, that's the
Right.
fork in the road,
Hmm.
the choices that we have to make, and sometimes it's fate. It doesn't matter what choice you make. And that's what happens here. Let's just say, David, you had a music Gothie. I have a music Gothie. You and I join. Colin comes in, because right now we're harmonizing. Colin
Right.
comes in, but his tone, it still sounds beautiful, but it sounds a little bit more threatening. And then the next thing you know, the fiend monster's like, I'm going to be with you guys for a while, and he's going to possess our Gothies. And then now I have it already kind of drawn out, and I haven't shared it. I'm not going to share it today. What the Jumbies look like. What happens to your Gothie when it becomes a Jumbie?
This is a
And
big topic of
they are
conversation.
cool, man. They're sweet.
Yes.
And I just want to hang out with them a little bit longer. When I draw them out. And the music is going to be a little more threatening. So what then happens? They become a plague in the world,
Right.
and they start to plague the world, and they start to take over the world. And then now it's up to the community to say, okay, what side? You're going to start choosing sides. You're going to start to say, and so you're picking your team essentially, and then you got to work within that team. You're trying to prevent the Gothies from these fiend monsters of taking over this whole universe world that I've created, and it's much bigger, right? Because these old things, they sit on these walking lands, right? They sit on continents that are walking on something else, right? A big piece of land. And then there's the alma tree. Like I have this whole thing sketched out and I can share at later dates, but I've got this whole world, right, that I had to come to a conclusion with. But once, if the fiend monsters take over, where are they going to go? They're going to go up the wells eventually, and they're going to try to get into our world.
Yes.
What happens
indeed.
to our world? So the task is you got to get these fiend monsters into the afterlife. You don't want them starting to take over, because there'll be a plague, and next thing they're taking over the place, and the whole world is going to change at that point. And that's why there's two ways in, right? Your dream, that's the safe way. Or if you fall into the well, well, then you're the monster, right? I don't know if you want to be the monster. You probably want to go in there in your dream, because there's rewards to happen, right? When you go and dream, and they'll come out, and you can create your lands. You expand on your lands and your dreams, and you can always leave. The dead must stay, but the dreamers can leave, right? That's what I always say. Okay, so we may need to do something, another event where I'm just concentrating on lands, because I really want to get into the lands, but it is running quite late.
I think
there is something else though I want to share here. Let's go here.
Okay.
This has to go back to the Pog Pass, right? And what Bazinga Games is thinking about here. So let me go to a new layer. Let me get a pen, because again, I have to sketch this stuff out when I talk. So Let's just save this, right? Here's Gothies. Okay. Let's just call this land 1, and then another land 2. And I told Bazinga and Colin, that I've got some ideas here that I can share with them, what this is going to be.
Sure.
One thing I love to do in things that I've had the privilege of doing in my career is designing theme parks. Sometimes it's just the lands themselves. Sometimes it's the whole park itself. And I just love that part of it. So I wanted to kind of bring that to Bazinga and say, look, guys, let me throw this out at you, right? Think of it as here's an entrance that you would see at any Disney entrance or Universal entrance or Six Flags, right? There's always this entrance. So just visually, how this looks, it's up to Bazinga to figure it out. If they want, I can always help, right? But so you go into the theme park, right? And I guess you could call this Bazinga, park, whatever. It's a lame name, maybe, Colin will figure it out.
Bazinga Park. There you go.
Right? But the point is that this is the more, right? This is that more part of evolution, to how we're entertained as a community. You got your park, you go your Gothies land, and I just shared with you a lot about the Gothies lands. But you also got a second land and a third land kind of thing. And you are able to park jump to all these different lands inside this metaverse. Does that make any sense?
That is, yes, absolutely. Right. So
and this all has to be aesthetically, figured out, and then as as technology progresses and you start to live like in a Ready Player One type of world,
Yes.
Start to leave your body, basically, right? And then you're able to basically visit these places. But you should be able to take your Gothy here, and whatever is here, right, can come here, and so forth. So that you're really building a great toy box of stuff, right? Of your toys, and it's tactile. You can feel it, right? You hear the sounds, the music, and you're walking through the space. And you've got trials and tribulations over here, and rewards, and same thing here, right?
Right.
So I hope this makes sense. I'm trying to get it out of my head. I get it to the sketch, right? Smart guys like Colin, and his team, they can, they'll be able to make heads or tails and get it to work within, obviously, Bazinga's, ecosystem.
Yes.
Okay. So,
yes.
But before I go, I do want to share something. Okay, and I know I don't think I passed this by you, David. So just bear with me.
Uh-oh.
So um, I want to share what this is. This land, because I have heard talk. I have read through the a lot of the chats, and I do. I go through the chats, and and I'm like, okay, the land, this other land, it does exist, and I think Colin has mentioned a few times that there's another property. So let me show
Yeah.
you. Let me just show you a piece of what that property
Oh
is. Okay.
boy. And a
So
few intrepid watchers have figured this out by putting pieces of the puzzle together. So I oh, you're going to love this, guys. You're going to love this.
so yeah, because I know you've seen some stuff in the past that I've done, right? But
Yes.
here, this is what I'm going to also give to Bazinga here. So let me hit this tab.
Oh my god.
So this is a world I created a while back, maybe a year or two ago, 2 years ago or so. And it all started with this character here. This is Tinker. And if anyone's been to my website, you'll see my production company is called Tiny Tinker Productions. And it all started with this little guy. I love this little guy. He's Two-Face, of course, because he's always in conflict, right? But here, let me walk you through this. I won't get into the story or anything of the sort, right? Let me just share the art, just let you enjoy, hopefully enjoy and you like the journey here. I think it's very easy to catch that. Yes, there's an Easter bunny, right? There are turkeys. There's gingerbreads, right?
Elves, I see.
You see some elves, yeah, gingerbread elves.
Holiday
Right.
Way.
You got a tooth fairy. Then
Who's
you got
this?
Star, right?
Looks
And
like
of
a
course you got Sham, right? Shamrock guy, right?
Oh, is that St.
And then-
Patrick's?
right? And then I call these two characters Vu and Do,
Santa Claus.
right? And then you got Santa Claus. Look, these guys are very, they're kind of tricksters too.
We see swirls.
In swirls, right? That's that. I just love that. I love swirl. I love it's just what I gravitate towards, right? That's the goth,
That it
And
is.
then you got Santa Claus, and you got your witch. Look, see, even she has stitched eyes.
Look at those
She's got
teeth.
this eye. It's one of those things. A lot of people. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but there's always that saying, right? You're blinded, right? You're looking at the world through someone else's eyes,
Yes.
right? Constantly, and that's what's happening here, and that's what influences this poor character, right? And then, of course, you got Valentine's, right? There's Cupid,
Oh, no.
and of course
Don't go in
Sandman,
there.
right? And so, of course, the name of that property is Holly.
Holly.
Yeah. And so, if we go back to where am I going here? Back to the sketch, right? So let me hit this tab. So this land here will be the Holly land. Holly NFT.
And
Gothies, Holly.
you
Yeah.
said something that this was 2 years ago. So, for the community's sake, is this fully developed?
So there's a lot developed, yeah.
Yes.
Story. I even have music, of course, already
Of course.
orchestrated. It's already been composed and stuff, yeah. But again, it's those things like I said that it lives in your head, right?
Yes.
And if it's not for a lot of the folks in the industry, this stuff would always stay in a creative's head or on a hard drive, right? And I've been very fortunate and been blessed that I've been able to meet terrific people in my life who, like Colin, who believes in what I'm doing with my story and art and says, I want to do something with it. And there's other people in my life that want to do stuff with, what I'm doing too. But,
Right.
that's wonderful, right? It's a collaboration. And these things are either going to happen or they're not going to happen, right? Things can go into development. There's so many variables. Anything can go, right? Things
Sure.
could be in development for 5 years and never make it, but that's okay, right? Because It's all about the journey, right? There's a
Yes.
reason why Frodo and Sam didn't just jump on an eagle and just fly to the
And just go straight to Mordor. Yeah,
Mordor,
exactly.
right? They had to take the journey.
Right.
They have to, and we all have to take the journey. And I'm certainly taking the journey. There are no shortcuts in life, none.
That's right.
You just enjoy it, man. I lived through my sands of time, and I just enjoyed the grain, right, that are falling. That's all, man. And and life happens.
Life does happen.
Life
Life finds a way, to quote another park type of property. Can you go back to your rough sketch of Bazinga Land or Bazinga Park, or somebody put something in chat that really sounded cool? Meadlawn Gardens.
I think that was Dove.
Yeah, of course it was Dove. So, Colin, do you want to announce this?
The park pass?
Yes.
Is it time for the park pass?
I think it's time for the park pass.
Okay, well maybe you can help me out. Oh yeah, and he's gonna sketch while we talk. Well, okay, David. So we should do this together.
Yes.
So you've heard the way that we communicate with you when we jump into the voice chats, when I ask for your opinion. You understand that we really do want to put out a professional product all the way through. And so part of that is very much about how we interact with you and you interact with us. So starting with the whitelist, so that's the first park pass. And
Yes.
David actually has those details written down.
I do.
So there's going to be 3 park passes, but the whitelist is now a park pass.
Yes. It's called the Gothies Park Pass. And so we're getting away from the term whitelist. As the industry is starting to move away from the term whitelist, we have planned for quite some time to move away from that term. And so it's called a park pass. That's it. Easy as that. And so you're going to get a pass list. You'll be on the list for a pass. And the park pass, for the Gothies Park Pass, this is where this is going to be a little bit different. You've seen minting passes before. You've got a real good property out there that has done a minting pass that, let's say Big Time, for example, right? Their mint pass, or their pass, their Sapphire pass, and then went up, was all about giving early access to the game. We said, oh yeah, that's great. That's good. That's cute. We can do better. So ours, not only will it grant you early access to the Gothies, right? It will grant you early access to Gothies, the property of Gothies. This is also going to let you mint from a guaranteed standpoint. You have a guaranteed spot to mint everything that Gothies will put out. We do the first mint, you're guaranteed a spot. We do the second mint, you're guaranteed a spot. We do the third mint, you're guaranteed a spot. And this is going to be the inherent value of the Park Pass, that you have what was originally termed whitelist for life of Gothies. And this is just level 1. So level 1, it is going to be relatively inexpensive. You will be able to get your money back through discounts on mints. And so ultimately, you'll get all your money back in savings, because that's just the way we roll. And you have a shot at a 1 NFT within a mint, what we call a mint event. And we'll get into some of the specifics about this later. But yes, there's the gate. Everyone's looking at the gate, right?
Yeah, everybody's watching the gate.
Right. Then there are 2 other levels of passes that we will be announcing soon, but I can announce the name. I can announce what they are in principle, right? The second level pass is going to be akin to an all access pass. This is going to be something that'll grant you mints for every mint event for every property that Bazinga does. This is Gothies. This is Holly. This is, oh, I almost said it. Property number 3. This is property number 4. You will have the ability to mint for each of these. Do you have to? No, of course not. Right? But you're on the list. You're on the pass list. And all the things that came with Gothies will come with this as well. Early access to Holly. A discount to mint so that you get your money back. This will be a little bit more expensive because this is going to be over years that you will always be on the pass list. These will have a substantial penalty if you choose to flip them, meaning the royalty will be pretty high when you compare it, because we don't want these flipped. We want these as a part of the community. We want people who are committed to the community, especially level 2 and 3, that we want them to stay with the original holders. If you need to sell them, if you need to move them, of course you can. It's an NFT. You can do whatever you want to with it. It's just going to cost a little bit more to flip it. You won't get as much back from a royalty perspective. Level 3. This is, I call it the totally OP Park Pass. I don't know if that's going to be the final name or not, but this is going to get you closed beta access to all the properties. This is going to get you alpha access at our discretion, of course, whether we're going to do an alpha. This will get you alpha access. This will get you early production access so you can get started in the game. This will get you, obviously, the discounts, and this will get you at least 3 NFT mints guaranteed for every single mint event that we do. And we're still tinkering a little bit with the last 2 in terms of the benefits that they will provide. But, rest assured, that one's going to be pretty expensive. But even if you wind up spending an ETH on this Park Pass, you will get it all back. We've already run the numbers. You should get approximately 3x what you spend on the Park Pass back in benefits if you choose to mint everything that we're going to give. So there's the value. At least, right? Because there's still unforeseen things that we could mint more than we think. So yeah, there you go. There's your alpha, guys. There's your alpha for the mints. And Colin, can we go with a projected date here of soon?
But for the Park Pass?
For the Park Pass.
End of April.
There you go. We have to fill this pass list out, and that's where your POAPs. By the way, POAP code is in chat almost right now. There's your POAP code. 42 draw lands all caps. 42 draw lands all caps. Your POAPs get you the first piece of the puzzle for us to get to your pass list. Pieces 2 and 3 are already out there and available. We've had dream boards submitted. We've had some really, really good soundtracks sent in. Pass number or piece number 4 and piece number 5 are going to be revealed in the next 10 days. And at that point in time, we should start to see the white list, the pass list, grow. And yes, that's it. So end of April, beginning of May-ish is what we're looking at for minting the park passes. Still looking at land in second quarter like we've talked about. And yeah, so there you go. There's some real good, solid information. No, the mints are not free with a park pass, but they are discounted. Yeah. They are discounted. Yes. So yes, you will mint a park pass for something nominal, but you will make all that back. And I see people have already minted the POAP. The POAP was meant because our creator is guiding us through. The POAP is a lantern. And that POAP is the guiding light that has just come on and spent 2 hours with us in his mind drawing this.
Yeah, this has been fantastic. I'm just like mesmerized by watching this right now.
yeah, you know what? This is me.
Right.
Wait, I
Right.
gotta.
Right.
He's like, I
Absolutely.
better start drawing. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot to
Yes.
draw.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's on 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize it was going to
Oh no, no. I
be
mean,
such a
we could
long
watch
event
this
for
forever.
everybody.
Right. And somebody in chat said that they didn't like the high royalty. And when I say high royalty, I'm talking like 15, 12%, 15%. We're not talking like 80%. No, this is not punitive. This is just a desire to maintain the passes within the community. And if you have to sell, like I said, you have to sell. But there will be a little bit of a higher royalty than you will see on most, 7 to 10% on a lot of NFTs. This will be just a little bit higher than that. But it's not going to be punitive. We're not punishing the community. This is not going to be punitive. I may have used the wrong word, but we really want a committed community. That's what we're going for. I think we have a very committed community already, and I love where this thing is going. I really, really love where this thing is going. We've got a fantastic foundation with all you fine folks. But yes, 4-2 draw lands, all capitals, for the POAP for this event.
Cool. So,
All right, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I hope it was enjoyable, to the community, and I want to thank you, David, for hosting this and setting this up. It was fun for me to sit and draw.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This
For
was
you all.
fantastic. We wound up at its peak. We had like about 75 people in Twitch. I don't know how many comments I've seen on Twitter for people watching. Obviously, we had a solid 30, 40 people in the Discord as well. And for those of you that have never claimed a POAP before, you need the POAP app on your phone. You can go to poap.xyz. It'll have the link. You can download it, or you can go to the Apple Store, Google Store, download it. And when you do, there's a little link in the lower right-hand corner. It says Mint. You hit that. You hit secret word, and then you put in 42DRAWLANDS, all caps. Boom. And you get your POAP.
hey, Maurice, just so you know, both the Twitch and the Discord chat are all saying thank you for the time.
Yes.
Mind blown. Lots of hearts, lots of fire. Yeah, so they're all saying thank you.
Oh, well, thank you all. This
Yes.
is only due because of the community.
Yes.
So,
And poor boy asking how many pass numbers right now. That
Oh.
number is at 1,500. A total of 1,500, and they'll be dispersed among the different levels.
Okay, so thank you, Maurice. We
Yes.
appreciate you.
thank you all. Cheers.
Thank you, guys. Take care. That'll be it for us for this massive, this massive show of the Tone of Gothies. And all this is being saved, of course. This will be loaded up on YouTube on the Gothies channel. This will be available on Twitch, obviously, to see. And it will be on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon podcasts. And that'll probably take us about an hour or so to get this encoded, edited, and put up. And that will be where we're going next. So,
And, just as an addition,
yes.
Here in a few minutes, I just need to take a quick break. I'll probably jump into one of the voice chats if anybody's interested.
In Discord.
In Discord, sorry.
Yes.
Yes, I should be more specific. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has been watching and everybody who will watch.
Yes.
You should absolutely hit us up. You know how accessible we are. And myself and David and everybody, like, we really do love this project, but we can't do it without you. And so doing it together, we appreciate all of you.
Absolutely. He speaks the truth. And so, yeah, guys, we really, really, really appreciate everyone's time today. We will do this again very soon. As Maurice said, he's got to come back and show us lands.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, we'll talk through a lot of that. You're going to get to meet Eric soon, too. And our CTO, and we've got to get that rescheduled now that he's feeling better. And so we can't wait. So join us in voice chat over in Discord a little bit later, like within moments, and we can fill you in on any questions that you might have coming out of this. There are probably going to be a ton. Follow us here on Twitch. We will have amazing new things for you coming very, very soon. We can't wait.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. With that, we will say good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and we will talk soon.